When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of The Meta Show. I am Brisker Ball, your host. I am joined alongside the Emperor of the Ages, the Mittani. We are here back again. Last week we weren't here. I know that was upsetting to many of you, but we're back. And we made it.
Well, this is super exciting. So one of the things that I really like about the modern era, the Brisk era of the Meta Show is that, it's not just Brisk, it's not just me. We have producers, we have a lot of people that work together to make this happen. But one of the best things about it is that I can take very little credit for any of the amazing things that have happened in the Meta Show. And I like not taking credit for any of it because I like being lazy. And what has happened here that is fantastic is I get surprised. You get to see my reaction real time. Amazing intro video. We have a Morgan Freeman voiceover. We got a lot of cool things planned. And the team that works on the Meta Show and basically props my sorry ass up here to run my mouth in front of you guys has really put in a lot, and it's amazing. I'm pretty psyched about it, and there's going to be some surprises in the show that I have again not seen, and I'm looking forward to that. Before I hand things over to Brisk, I've got a couple of warnings for everybody. So as we are going to be talking about as the top story when we get there, after we do our sandboxes, sandboxes. This is why I'm warning you. Because of the Requiem Eternal disband, which involved basically a space stakeout, where I was staying up until 8 a.m. my time, watching and waiting with our defector to find out whether the bad guys were going to go to sleep. I've gotten 3 hours of sleep. I've been waking up. I've been going to bed at 8 a.m. I am not in my normal frame of mind. I'm usually a little bit off, but I had to warn people in advance on the fireside, and I'm warning you again in the Meta Show as we go into this. If I start drooling out of one side of my mouth, or if I lose the plot more than usual, I'm wearing a black shirt because we destroyed a 7-year-old alliance that was a casino war criminal group, and I'm gonna get smug and I'm gonna get nasty. I am wearing black. Hopefully the spirit of the smug will come to me. But I'm also exhausted because we stayed up so late preparing to disband these guys. So with that caveat out of the way, we're going to go ahead and Brisk, you have a few things to talk about, don't you?
I do. So first of all, one of the things you guys maybe ask, season 2, episode 1, what does this mean? When we rebooted the show, this is the official 1-year anniversary of the reboot of the show, where I took over as co-host along with Mittens. What me and the production team wanted to do was highlight this fact. We also wanted to change things up, make things more fun. We want to do fun things for you guys. We like to innovate on this show. We are doing our best to provide you, our viewers, regardless of what side of the war you're on, regardless of where you play in the game or what you like to do. If you're an EVE Online fan, we want you here watching the Meta Show. Part of that is we want to keep things fresh. So every year, assuming we keep doing this for many, many years, and Mittens, this is your 5th or 6th year, I think now. So
time's a flat circle. Who knows?
Exactly. We've been doing this for a while. We're going to do our best to change up, put new backgrounds, new intros, do some fun stuff, keep the Frank stuff coming as long as it's relevant, that type of thing. We're going to try to provide you guys with the best content, keep you here, keep you entertained, because in the end, that's our goal. There are a lot of folks out there that say, oh, the Meta Show, that's just goon propaganda. That's just No, our goal is to provide a good show for you guys. We want you to sit here. We want you to have fun on a Saturday afternoon.
Excellent propaganda.
It is good propaganda.
Excellent
I'm not going to say.
Not just goon propaganda, but hopefully amazing propaganda and some more stuff, Want to be entertaining and informative.
Exactly. We want you guys to come back. We want you to have fun. If we're having fun, if Mittens and I are laughing and having a good time, we expect you are. We want to keep doing that. So that's part of the goal. So we changed everything up. We got new music. We got new voiceovers. You heard Morgan Freeman out there. Thank you so much for doing that for us. And and we got to do some other stuff later in the show as well, and credits and stuff. So anyway, we're trying to do stuff. We got a new background, got a lovely view of the Sodio and 1DQ right behind us here, and we're going to do what we can to provide you guys with the best EVE Online content every Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m., 2100. For those of you outside the United States, yes, this is a new time. We are back an hour because of daylight savings, back to 2100, and that's where we will be until the springtime when we go back to 2000. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. I want to say thank you. I've gotten a kick out of doing this show over the last year. It's been a lot of fun. And it's one of those things where there are shows that I have done, shows that I have been on, some shows that I'm still involved in, that I go to the show and sometimes I think, oh God, do I have to do this? It's such a chore. I've never felt that way about the Meta Show. Every week is more fun. It's cool. We do cool things. We do fun things. We like to be here. I have a good time. This is my favorite show to put on, and I hope that translates into you guys enjoying it as much as I enjoy providing it. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and in front of you all for another year. And I look forward to what the second season of the new Meta Show is going to provide. So anyway, that's my part of my soapbox. The other part is one of the reasons why we're here. The reason why we are here is we're part of a larger EVE Online community. And as I've said before, and you guys have heard me get on my soapbox and say this before, EVE has a outside of the game reputation for being the most heinous, toxic player base in the history of online gaming. They scam, they steal, they have spies, they disband alliances. They're so bad. But you know what?
Naughty goons. So naughty, so awful.
Bad. But you know what? This is the best, the most compassionate, the most philanthropic player base in any game in MMO history. It's EVE Online. And I wanted to highlight again, we just broke our own record. The CCP put out the numbers for the Plex for Good campaign for COVID relief, which went to Johns Hopkins and also went to the World Health Organization. We, as players, donated right on the heels of a previous, early at the beginning of the year, Plex for Good campaign for the Australian wildfires. We donated another $135,000 worth of Plex to these causes. I mean, guys, put this in perspective. $135,000 worth of Plex. That is the Plex equivalent of half a Horde Cormorant fleet. We're talking big money here, okay? This is pretty cool. And we're doing it again. We did it again. Every time this player base steps up, because no matter what people want to say about us being toxic, in the end, we're big-hearted and we open our wallets whenever folks are in need. And I want to thank you as a CSM member, but also as a fellow player. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being the best community in gaming. You make this show possible. You make things like Plex for Good possible. You make it fun to play a 17-year-old MMO that's broken half the time. So thank you. We appreciate you being here. And then just right now, as of now, Plex for Good is almost at the $750,000 mark since 2005. We've donated almost $750,000 to all of these various causes. Nobody else does that. You see a bunch of WoW players, maybe they'll do a charity stream on Twitch or something, but something that the company puts out, players all get together, that's unique to EVE, and congrats, you guys deserve a lot of credit for doing that. So that's my soapbox. You did your soapbox of how you're
I think
barely
we're
awake
ready for the top story. Yeah, I think
we're going to hit the top story. Obviously,
all right.
You know what the top story is going to be, guys. It's Requiem for Requiem. So if you guys, obviously, I hope all of you have seen the news that one of, I would say probably in the top 5 legacy alliances, probably number 3. I think number 1 would be Test, obviously number 2 would be Brave, but I think Requiem is up there in the hierarchy of legacy alliances, was disbanded in a beautiful spy move by the Imperium with the help of a disgruntled director, and Mittens is going to go into this. And just to put in perspective what happened here, they lost. I'm throw this on the screen. Actually, that's the Plex for Good here. Look at that dot land.
50 systems.
50 plus
Or was it
iHubs.
56, something like that.
56 iHubs lost in Catch, Impasse, Quirius, and Tenerifis in one op. That is more iHubs than has been lost in Delve in the last 6 months. We did it in one night in core Pappy Space. Mittens, what happened? Tell us the story. I want to know the whole thing.
So I'm going to apologize again, guys. Like, I had planned on being a complete smug douchebag about this, but because I was up late working on disbanding these guys, now I'm just going to like go through what happened, and we'll go through. Maybe the spirit of the smug will bless me. So let's talk about this. I want to talk first about how these things happened and why Goonswarm is always able to do these kind of disbands. Why does this opportunity keep coming up? The reason why this opportunity keeps coming up over the years, and why we've gotten so good at doing disbands, is that we always treat our defectors right. If somebody comes to us because they have been screwed over by a shitty, toxic directorate in one of their organizations, and they come out to us and they say, you know what, you guys are actually pretty cool. Our word is our bond, so people trust us to make deals. And we always roll out the red carpet for defectors. So what happened here is that this is a story that has been told 1,000 times over 1,000 different alliances. Typically, they're in the 1,500 to 2,000 character limit. That's sort of Dunbar's number-ish group. So we're guessing probably about 150 to 200 like real players, but you get up to about 2K. And what's interesting, I think, about these smaller alliances and how their cultures get like this is that essentially they're under the radar enough that they can get away with crazy bullshit. So like the weird stuff that happened in SMA, if you've reminded yourself of Own Alliance, like if you've been reading Empires of Eve Volume 2, the madness of Own and Teredrum and that sort of stuff. And then similarly with Requiem Eternal, you end up with these groups that are sort of below everybody's radar. Like they're there, they exist, they're like contributing to Sov Wars, but they're not like the high profile, like big spotlights or anything like that. If Villy or I, or if Vince ever went on TV, or whatever, any of the big name players screwed up, slipped up, put on a wizard hat, did some sort of controversial thing, it's huge news everywhere immediately. And I think that creates a level of accountability in terms of the directorate. Like, so if I try to mistreat my people, if I try to be a shitty alliance leader, if I'm like toxic and crappy to our dudes, it'll be all over everywhere. On the other hand, if you are some dude named like Fight or whatever this guy's name was, who is the guy who was the leader of Requiem Eternal, and their directorate, they dump a bunch of bullshit on one of their main logistics and industry directors, and he's just sort of screwed and eventually gets sick of getting crapped on by everybody, and then they reach out to us. So I think that's one of the reasons why we keep seeing this kind of drama play out in these alliances, is that essentially more misbehavior is it's easier to get away with that kind of stuff in these crappier little alliances, where the alliance leaders can be all like, oh, you do all the logistics, you do everything for me, and I'm gonna just shit on you, whatever. So we were contacted by a defector who was I think he'd only actually been in the Executor Corporation and a logistics / industry director for less than a year. Like, this guy was a newbie, and they gave him the keys to the castle. But after they gave him the keys to the castle, they made him do a bunch of work, and they shat on him a bunch. And so, unsurprisingly, lo and behold, he found his way to the Black Hand. So what happened? This was a pretty standard disband. Let me sort of back up and make sure I'm getting the actual process of Brisk. Am I making any sense at all so far? Like, am I like, how is this sentence structured?
It makes perfect sense. I mean, look.
All right. I have to check the way you're because going through it makes sense here. But
it sounds to me like this was your standard.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to bring in one guy, make him do all the work, make him eat a bunch of shit, and then after a while he realizes, why am I eating all this shit for these guys that don't play the game?
Right.
And then he reaches out and contacts you. So.
Yes. Okay, good. So that's good. I thought I was making sense, but I wanted to run that by everybody else to make sure, because again, 3 hours of sleep, guys. So then what happened? Well, here's how disbands work. You steal everything. You steal the wallets. You disband the alliance. And then essentially it's, and this is, I didn't realize I would make a reference to this, but they rebooted Supermarket Sweep here in Freedomland. And I may have ended up watching some Supermarket Sweep while really, really off my ass. And so I'm going to make a supermarket sweep analogy. It's like once you actually begin the disband process, you can steal assets. So what we did is we waited until the directors were sleeping, and then working with the defector in our team, we arranged, and he spent like a week. I was kind of stressed out this week because I was like waiting, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? But because they pissed off their main logistics director, he was able to consolidate almost all of their alliance assets in hangars such that he could just yoink them all. So he helped consolidate their assets into his hangar. And one of the things to keep in mind here, which is like one of the things that we were talking about with our guys, but I don't really know what like the Reddit cesspool has said about this is not a lot of ISK. Like when we're talking about like cleaning out Requiem Eternal, this is a good example. And we learned a lot from this process of having him, walk in defector and then figuring out what was going on, what their internals were. They only had 91 billion ISK in their entire Alliance wallet. Their total Alliance assets, and when I say Alliance assets, I'm not talking about like corp assets or line member assets, but the things that keep the trains running on time, the stuff that gets the SOV made, the jump bridges made, all the Alliance stuff, their goo cache, all that. It turned out to be like, what was it? Like just a little bit more than like 300 billion ISK worth of assets in terms of Alliance stuff.
And for those of you who want to know, 400 billion ISK is approximately the cost of about a fourth of a Horde Corn fleet in SRP.
Oh,
so we're not talking about a lot of ISK here. All right, go ahead.
Oh my God. So yeah, but this is, keep in mind, like when we're talking about like one of the things that has been interesting in this war is everybody is accusing everybody of being broke or running out of cash or something or other. And then when you actually go and you loot everything that a mainline Legacy Alliance has, and there is revisionist history in the aftermath of a disband. And one of the things that has been funny, and one of the reasons why I've been staying up late, like F5ing and watching the screaming in the aftermath of our little Friday the 13th caper, is that the louder that the enemy is desperately trying to convince everyone that it doesn't matter, that we fucked it up, that this was wrong, or who cares, it's completely irrelevant. Like you can just see from the screeching the impact this kind of thing has. Once the disband begins, the supermarket sweep like timer starts, and it's a race against the clock to transfer as many citadels as you can and steal anything else that you didn't actually steal before somebody logs on. Because once people have been kicked out of the Alliance, our enemies are pretty used to this kind of thing happening now, because they're used to having defectors come to Goonswarm and say, wow, I can't stand dealing with my toxic directorate. Please, can we make it all go away? So at that point, we got a Moreau Fortizar. I would have liked to have gotten more Citadels, but I think given credit to Requiem Eternals, one of their AUTZ directors, apparently a guy, I think his name is like Hyperion, something or other. I forgot. Hype was the name that the director was saying. He logged on. The CEO was asleep, but credit to this guy in the Requiem Eternal directorate, he logged on and started stealing Citadels before we could steal the Citadels. Because again, once you disband an alliance, the SOV drops, everybody starts talking about it, and then you pretty much have between 5 to 10 minutes to get what you can get. But conveniently, we stole all their stuff, and we stole their wallet, and we nuked all their SOV. I'm pretty happy with it. I think that, one of the things that's weird about it, and I was talking about this earlier on the Fireside, is that I didn't even realize, like, there's a lot of these like B team and C team alliances that are in Legacy Coalition, or used to be in PanFam, or have been floating around in the Money Badger Coalition, or whatever they want to call themselves, that are what I call casino war criminals. And the funny thing about Requiem Eternal, kind of like Evictus, which has also started, this is a funny bit. Evictus was, as we've been talking about for a while, like losing corporations left and right. So Evictus was like starting to failure cascade, and Requiem was going to be trying to pick up Evictus corporations. And then we disbanded Requiem. So I have no idea where these people are going to go. Maybe they'll end up Brave. Maybe some of them will end up in Test. Maybe some of them will end up like floating off to Empire. Who fucking knows? But it's just kind of funny. It's like a Russian doll inside another, just cascade into disband into hopefully more cascading.
Yeah. I mean, I want to throw my 2 cents in on this.
Yeah, go ahead. Please direct the conversation, because otherwise I'm just going to run my mouth.
The rambling's fine, because I'm fascinated by this. Now, the reason I'm fascinated by this is that it's only through quirks of fate that I was not in Requiem. I mean, now, when I started, I'm not kidding. When I started playing Eve, I jumped, and you guys have heard me talk about the story before. I jumped around HiSec. I played by myself. I tried to join a corp. It didn't work out. So I ended up back by myself. And I played basically in a one-man corp for like 5 or 6 years. And I would just crab at HiSec. I'd go run missions and do little things, and it wasn't a big deal. When I moved into nullsec for the first time, it was to join a friend of mine who was in a corporation that was part of Drone Walkers, and they were living in Teanal at the time. And when I joined that group, I hung out with those guys for a couple months. At that point, I moved over to my current corporation, STK, and they were they included the Alliance executive for Drone Walkers at the time. Drone Walkers was very close to Requiem Eternal, very close to Boss Alliance, very close to some of those guys in that sphere of influence. And in the last war, we fought alongside Test and CO2. So when Test and CO2, when CO2 lost their Keep Star and Tribute, Techo, we all ended up living on a couch living on Brave's couch in Ketch, and we staged out of some Ketch systems for a while. Then we moved south to Faith Abylis. We were told we were going to keep our space. We were going to get space in a nice quiet ratting system in Faith Abylis. We moved all our stuff down there. I literally moved like 4 carriers from Teanal to Faith Abylis, which is literally across the entire frickin' map. And it took like 2 weeks to get it all done. And then we were told, oh, by the way, you guys, we need that space. We're going to turn into runner space. You guys got to go back. You can either move to Impasse or you can come back up to Ketch. And STK at that point said, fuck off, we're not living in Ketch. So we left and went to the Initiative. If I had stayed in Drone Walkers, there's a good chance that at some point when Drone Walkers we dotted into Requiem, I'd have been in Requiem when all this shit went down. So there, but for the grace of God, go I. Thank God I'm in it. Otherwise, I'd be sitting here like trying to figure out what the hell. I wouldn't be on the show, first of all, and second of all, I probably wouldn't even be playing the game, to be honest. But what the hell happened to my alliance? So the fact that so I had a lot of friends that are still in Requiem, a lot of guys that I knew from the Drone Walker days and everything, and I feel bad for them. But this is what happens when you have bad leadership, and this is one of the things that, and I know a lot of you guys give us a hard time, and there are people out there who claim that, oh, the leadership and Goon Swarm and leadership in the Imperium, you guys you're toxic, you're this, you're paranoid, you don't let anybody, but you know what? We're good leadership. We work, we find good people, we promote them, but the legit leadership stays where it is. And we do our best to create a situation where players feel like they're fostered and they're given things that they need. And disgruntled players, disgruntled FCs, disgruntled folks that don't like things, they end up leaving or getting pushed out before they can be put in a position to do this type of stuff. Now, granted, I say that now and watch next week, somebody goes in and does something bad to us. But I'll tell you, my experience has been that the Imperium leadership, these guys are a cohesive, coherent team. They care about what they're doing. They care about the people that are in their groups, and they do a good job. And if folks are AFK, those folks are taken out of positions of authority, and people who are there and who are going to do the work, they're the ones that end up getting these jobs. So there's never a situation where you have some poor industry guy like we saw with Necro, and he was on Push to Talk earlier. So if you want to go listen to the horse's mouth of what happened here with Requiem, go listen to Push to Talk, the VOD, and you can hear about what happened. This was an industry guy who wanted to play, who just wanted to log in, wanted to do industry type stuff. You had an alliance that had toxic leadership, that did not want to log in, that didn't care about the war. One corp that cared about the war, and everybody else just wanted to crab. And it got to the point where he's doing all the work, and he's just like, why the fuck am I doing this? So that's the danger, and that's one of the things that I always worry about. You have some of these groups, you don't realize how bad it is until something like this happens. Now, I'm sure that Brave and Test and the other guys in there will find places for all of these folks that wanted to play. But it sounds to me like most of Requiem didn't even care. So they're probably going to end up, renting or going to some other, they end up in Stain or something.
I think that's an interesting point. So the immediate reaction, and now that you guys have fucked it up completely, I'm going to tell you what you should have done. The immediate reaction from the Paspy crew, the black shirt, the coffee, things are working out.
There you go.
The immediate reaction from the Paspy crew, which is busy clutching their pearls and howling about how goons are mean and toxic and chat, and how we're such awful people because how dare we not buy into your bullshit. The reaction from Paspy simply proves my point as to how toxic and disorganized the upper level of these organizations are and why we keep getting these defectors. The reason is, once Requiem Eternal was disbanded, And I'll tell you what'll happen. If there is ever a situation where an Imperium alliance besides Goonswarm is disbanded, because we already did that to ourselves once back before I took over CO, like back the Great Whelp of Delve, the whole cartoon thing. We have been there. We know how this works. We've done it to ourselves. What you do is you immediately say, we are here for our allies. We will do everything that we can. We are here. Everything will be safe. You have a home. We're going to, restore continuity. What actually happened? What actually happened from the past P crew, many of whom are busy acting like they don't care in chat and loudly telling anyone who will listen for the last 24 hours how little they care and how we fucked it up and how we didn't do enough and how we should have invaded Impasse. All of these armchair metagame experts who have never done a sabotage op want to talk to us who have done how many disbands about how a disband is supposed to be done. You think you have any idea what goes into a disband? Come on. But what you did diplomatically after Requiem, the immediate reaction from Paspi about Requiem Eternal was, didn't want those allies anyway. Requiem sucked. We didn't like them. We didn't need them. You can read your own posts. They're all over the RE subreddit. Like, they're all over Reddit. Oh, well, Requiem doesn't matter. Oh, well, whatever. They were shitty allies anyway. Oh, well, they didn't really help out in the war. The moment that things got tough in Legacy Coalition, just like you always do, you turned on each other like a bucket of fucking crabs.
That's why we call you guys snakes, by the way. I mean, it's
yeah.
not.
You called yourselves snakes, and we latched onto that because maybe you guys didn't realize how effective you were being in your description. I've got to not make Warren jokes because we don't do politics in Elysium or on the Meta Show. But anyway.
But the thing, this is the thing. And I will say that was one of the disheartening things that I saw. Guys, one guy disbanded Requiem, okay? You may not like that guy for what he did, but that doesn't mean that all the players that were in Requiem are suddenly shit. So every time you shit on that alliance, you're shitting on guys that were fighting alongside you literally the day before and are going to be fighting alongside you again. They've already set up a new alliance, Eternal Requiem, which I think is kind of cute, by the way. I give you guys credit for that. It's cute. But they're going to be back out of the fleet. So how do you go from saying, oh yeah, didn't want that crew anyway, to, oh yeah, hey, welcome, come back guys, great to have you. I mean, Jesus. How do you do that?
It all kind of lines up, right? I mean, incidentally, it's kind of funny. So Juvir is in chat. Juvir is one of the directors in Requiem Eternal who was part of the crew that drove this person to defect and get his alliance disbanded. And now he is here in chat to act like everything is fine. The people who are in PASP cannot be convinced. And one of the reasons why they get so angry when they see me trolling them on live TV is that they expect that there is something that we can engage with or interact with, or, they're acting in bad faith. So why would we engage with them in good faith? This is a perfect example of that, right? Like the entire argument about who is toxic, who is this, who is that, who is good and who is bad. Like the moment your allies get in trouble, you shit on them. And then you come to us and try to act like we are anything like you. You try to go, oh, well, you were mean to Redline. You were mean to Pittsburgh. You were like NC. Guys trying to play the victim over people that we got rid of, or people who, for their own reasons, because they wanted to be the cool kids or what they saw. Anybody who wants to join NC. They belong in NC. Like if you want to be in NC. Please, for the love of God, go over there because you deserve each other over there. It's a different kind of culture. It's a very different kind of culture. I have some friends in NC. I will always be happy to drink with NC. When we are in Vegas together, but it is an extraordinarily different culture from that of the Imperium and particularly Goonswarm. One of the things that we do not do and a lot of the things that we do not like happen all the time in NC. So when people go over to NC. And they want to be in NC. That's great. They can have that. That is the opposite of what we want.
But you know what's funny about those guys? Almost invariably, the folks that leave Goons, the folks that leave the Imperium and go to the other side, always proclaim that the reason why they did it was because Goons and the Diplos have blew too many people. There's not enough content for us. Welcome. Well, now you guys are in the biggest freaking coalition in the history of EVE. There's 150,000 of you players. You blew to two-thirds of the map. And Goons we get fights every day in our home territory. We don't have to go anywhere. I bet you feel like a dummy now because you left because you couldn't get enough content because there were too many blues. Just saying. You know,
This whole thing, the amount of rage in chat is fantastic. I am managing to see a couple of misbehaving people, but I think I've only shot one person so far on the Meta Show. Again, unlike with Rod and USMC's channel, we like to keep around the pace eaters here in chat, so you guys
funny.
can,
they make me laugh.
if they didn't exist, we'd have to invent them. Obviously, when people go a little bit too far, we will purge them. Like when some guy was like analyzing, what was it, like last show or something? Somebody was like analyzing, like saying that I had been biting my lips and like analyzing my lips. It's winter in Wisconsin. Anyway, that was creepy, and we banned somebody for that.
I have a weird shaped skull. Apparently, it's not weird shaped. It's just I have a big head to fit all my brains in there. That's what it is. Just saying.
Anyway, oh wow. Okay, so
we have some more stuff. I mean, there's besides the Requiem stuff, there's actually some other good stuff. So we're going to go in Nullsec
getting
Power Hour and
distracted
talk a
by
little bit
trolling.
about.
We should probably focus on the show. Yeah.
We got other things we can talk about.
Right.
We can let the guys in chat go crazy as they want. But we have another story we want to talk about, and that is Init's new deployment. George Washington famously said, and I'll paraphrase what he said, but it's because it's come down to history to us as the best defense is a good offense. So one of the things I'm very pleased to say is that today, starting today, Init has begun a new deployment for November. Where did we deploy to? Esoteria. That is correct. Init is joining our friends in Stainrust as well as our friends in the Bastion. We have already begun moving hacks and bombers and all kinds of crazy stuff and blops and everything we can get down to the Fortizars that Bastion controls in Esoteria that have been defended over and over and over again against all the legacy guys, and these guys have not been able to take these out. And you know what? Even if they do, we're 2 jumps from Stain. We're not going anywhere. So I'm looking very much forward to taking the fight and sowing some chaos behind enemy lines. One of the other things with the Requiem move, one of the things that the Requiem move did is it really disrupted the travel and the jump gates through Impasse and into Esoteria. That
several weeks they're not going to be able to bridge anything because you have to wait for the SOV, the strategic index, to recover there, and that will take weeks before you can put down new bridges, as well as I think 2 constellations in Tenerifis.
Exactly. So you're going to have trouble moving around. They're going to have trouble moving around Impasse, which is core legacy space. Esoteria, you've had Bastion and Farah, the Stain Russians out there messing with these guys behind the lines for a while, and now Big Brother Init's coming to help. So we've already moved a couple fleets down there. I was on a move op earlier today. I know we just had an operation out there where we were killing some stuff. I've been getting some Z-Kill board links in from the stuff that we've been able to kill. And so my goal and what I'm happy to see is, and I've been suggesting this, and I had talked to Darkshines and some others before. What I'd love to see, I want to see Init is a fast. We are the fast guerrilla group that can go. We go through the wormholes. We get there. We blow your stuff up, and then we leave. Now, I think we're going to be right there. We're going to have the ability to project, sow some chaos behind the lines, make these guys, when they're forming for their Delve Fortizar timers that maybe we show up for, maybe we don't. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. They're always going to have to wonder every time, if Goons didn't form for this, is Init blowing some of our stuff up behind the scenes? And that's what I want. I want to see that. I want these guys to wonder and to be concerned about whether or not they can go to these big fights, because the more, and I think the more we see this, the more that Test is distracted from the main war because of stuff happening in their backyard. I think the more angry and the more likely you're going to see that the Horde guys and the PL guys and the NC guys who have been carrying Test on their back like Baby Yoda, they're going to finally be like, this guy's too, why are we carrying these guys? Why are we the ones putting in this war? This isn't even our war. We're here for fun. These guys are the ones that started it. Why are they too busy worrying about their crab space to come and deal with the fight? So I'm hoping that's what we're going to be able to start doing. And that's my goal, and I look forward to those fleets. I wish I could have gone on the one that we just had, but I had to do the show. But anyway, so that news, Init is deploying to Esoteria. I think that's going to be fun, and we'll see what we can do to mess up stuff for the bad guys in their home space.
Well, I mean, I hear that Test is going to live in Delve because Goons, as I keep reading on Reddit and from some of our past P friends here in chat, we are about to give up and go away and go to Saarinen. Like as long as they keep doing iHub contests, then now actually one of the things we do need to say in terms of like fair and balanced news is I want to address something that actually happened. I don't know if we're going to do this in like the Nullsec Power Hour, but I want to talk about a tree fell on the 49 Keepstar. Straight up, like we lost a Keepstar in this. I think it was on like the day before the disband. Like that is a thing that happened. We had formed up to get ready for the armor timer on this, and a tree fell on Asher's house because Florida, right before the op kicked off, and we had to pivot. We were like, okay, well, we're not going to go with Asher's plan without Asher. Then we pivoted to do some other defense stuff, and it fucking sucked. Right? There's no way to spin this in a good way. A tree fell on the fucking 49 Keepstar. And so when it came to the hull timer, we're like, okay, well, we can't really do anything about this. This fucking sucks. Welp. So there has been progress on the PASPI side. They had a system that was jammed. We did not get rid of the 49 iHub. We formed up to be able to do something about that. Shit happened, and then we lost it. So in terms of like spin zone stuff, we're talking a lot about the wreck disband and things like that. But like the 49 Keepstar was lost. We have lost a Keepstar in the Aquarius to catch border system, and that sucks, right?
It sucks, but you know what?
I'm not gonna spin that as a good thing or an okay thing. And I understand that the obligation is now on the Imperium because we said we were going to form up to defend these fucking things. And so it's kind of all eyes are on us to see whether a tree falls on the next one. Like if it seems like we're just making excuses for Keepstars, that everybody's going to run for the hills because that's it, right? But a tree fell on Asher's house right before the op. So next time, please do hit more Keepstars and we will turn up. And we also make sure that there's an alternate in case there's like Florida hurricane or something like that.
Right.
But that did happen, and I want to talk about that.
I don't want to spin this. I mean, the legit. I mean, that Keepstar, that Keepstar was the border Keepstar into the pipe that gets the delve through Query. So it was something that we had been protecting for a while. That being said, yeah. Yes, it sucks. Yes, we don't like the fact that we couldn't keep it. We don't like the fact that we couldn't contest it. Real life weather, things happen in real life. You never know. We didn't have the show last week, and it wasn't because of anything bad happening. It's just we had election stuff in real life, and I was tired, and Mittens was tired, and I said, hey, you know what?
Oh, last week we skipped the meta show because of the fucking election. Jesus Christ.
We're going to take a week off. And I mean, geez, the spin when we take a week off is as bad as the spin was when this Keepstar died. I mean, you would have thought that if you saw the front page of Reddit, you would have thought that this Keepstar wasn't Delve. I mean, you really would. The bad guys hyped this up so bad that they acted like this was some kind of a Delve Keepstar, and it wasn't. And it was one of those ones. It was
significant earlier in the war.
It mattered a month ago or a month and a half ago. It mattered.
But like we are in a put up or shut up scenario. We told everybody that we were going to defend these Keepstars. We did in Fountain, and those fights were a lot of fun. Our guys enjoyed the hell out of them. The bad guys did not enjoy the hell out of them, and we were looking forward to fighting on the armor layer of these things. And so the ball is in our court. Like we are now obligated to put up or shut up when the next time one of these things comes around to show up there and fight for it, and we will. But yeah, now I want to go back to like black shirt, like spin zone stuff, but I do want to not paper over that. That happened and life goes on.
Right. And I think Frank will talk about that in a little while too. So
sweet. Anyway. We're going to get a visit from Frank. That's going to be awesome. So
yeah, he's ready to go.
The Esoteria thing is really interesting because that has been like one of the more amusing B plots in this war over the last several months is, when Test is eating shit and all their stuff is on fire because Stainrus is killing them, Bastion is killing them, Initiative is deploying, our mercenaries, Rebecca Dot, are out there being savage Beckies and doing their thing. And actually our mercenaries killed a Nyx working along with Stainrus on a Astrahus that they dropped in Test staging system. That was pretty hilarious a couple days ago. So shout out to Rebecca and to our Stainrus allies. But clearly, no matter who loses this war in any capacity, Test is screwed, right? Like in any way that this is going, Pappy is not, like the whole PanFam crew is not turning up to save Test. And day after day, night after night, they're bleeding more in Esoteria. Their defense people are burning out. I don't watch this stream, but I've been told repeatedly, and I don't know if this is true or not, maybe I'm pulling a Donald Trump by saying this, but I have been told that there's been a lot of coping being what is it? What is it? What do they call
Coping
it?
mechanisms?
Copium.
Coping.
That's what the kids these days say.
Coping. Okay. There you go.
Excuse me. On the Ron stream. So I'm curious to see what happens, right? The offensive side of the war is continuing, essentially like it's the same thing as it was for the last couple of weeks in Delve, fighting back and forth. The question now is if Init is deploying to Esoteria, Test has already been on the back foot out there, and we'll have to see. Maybe they will be living in Delve on top of us because they're going to lose Esoteria. We'll have to see what they do about it. I mean, I'm curious. Maybe nothing will come of it. Maybe it will get us somewhere. We'll have to see. What do you think, Risk? Where are we going?
I mean, look, I think at this point we are in the lull phase of the war, and this is what sucks because we knew when we said this from the beginning. There's going to be periods of sheer terror and periods of massive hype, and everybody's doing everything. And we're all out there and we're fighting. And you know, anything after world record breaking battles, anything less than that was going to be a letdown. And we're kind of at that point now. And because of the very conservative way that the SNEC Coalition has been prosecuting this war, and when I say conservative, I mean little c, not big C, the very conservative way, they don't want to take fights unless literally everything is in their favor. And they're willing to wait the 35 days or however long it takes to get iHubs and get the ADMs up in systems that we have Keepstars in so that they can drop Sinojammers so that they can have their fight with nobody showing up. I mean, that's how they want to run this thing. That's going to take a long time. So all you guys out there saying, hey, 1DQ by Christmas, I don't think so. I mean, I would be very surprised if you suddenly went from the current pace of operations to knocking that out. Now, I'd say that, and as every time I say something like this, you guys go and prove me wrong. So, hey, you know what? If you do get to 1DQ by Christmas, I'll wear my Christmas hat for the Christmas show, and I'll put a little logo on it for you. But I'll tell you, just the pace of operations is slow, and right now it's slowed down. We are in the SOV fighting part of the war. And those SOV fights, they suck. You can win a SOV fight with numbers. You can win it by people just not paying attention. I mean, there's a lot of different ways around it. But for the most part, if you're in one of these big fleets, you got to hope that maybe you're going to catch the other guy's defense fleet and you guys can have a brawl. Otherwise, you're sitting there watching a couple guys with a spreadsheet figure out which systems they got to go to. It's not the most engaging content. And coming on the heels of these big fights, we're kind of at the point now where I think you're going to start seeing slowly everybody's login numbers are going to start dropping because we're in the boring part of the war. And it could pop up anytime. You could see a massive increase in the numbers.
Thanks to Euro time zone, like that's actually one of the changes is that so in the Imperium for the first 2.5-3 months of the war, Euro time zone handled both Citadel and SOV vulnerabilities, and so essentially the weight of the galaxy. I mean, pretty much literally the weight of the galaxy was on the Imperium Euro time zone shoulders because the entire galaxy is attacking us. So, you know, that's sort of it's not really an exaggeration if it does what it says on the tin. So the weight of the galaxy was on our Euro time zone. And then after a couple months, they needed a break. So we shifted things to US time zone. And then they carried things for a couple months. And now we are shifting things around in a slightly different way. So Euros are going to be on SOV. And our Euro time zone is very active and has had a chance to get some rest and recharge. And, you know, Mr. V and Hartley are like running around and Kindar's running around and Alice is running around. And, you know, I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's going to be really cool to see what happens there. So if you are, and, you know, maybe I shouldn't be saying this because, you know, whatever. If you are a Euro time zone player, there should be more activity, not just on the Imperium side, but on the side of PASPI. You guys are more likely to pass and less likely to get fights because of who your leaders are. But at least on our side, Euro time zone is going to be increasing in hotness and heaviness.
I think it's cool that V's back. I mean, that's fun. That's pretty cool for all the old school players.
The Helm's Deep analogy and then having fucking Gandalf appear is pretty fucking cool.
You shall not pass. Anyway, just as an update, for those of you who are following along at home, the Init deployment is going well so far. We've already killed 2 jump ridges and there's an iHub dying in Esoteria as we speak. So, hey, we didn't just jump down there for having fun. We're out there actually doing some work. So, to the Init guys who are watching the show while you're out there doing God's work, keep it up. I'm proud of you. You know I love you, Shines. You're my favorite potato farmer. Keep it up. All right. Are we ready for a war update? Or do you want to keep
I
talking?
personally feel like we need a war update because I don't trust myself in terms of no spin zone right now due to lack of sleep. If only there was someone who was more credible than little old me that we could listen to.
Well, let's do that. We'll get some credibility back on the show. You guys are tired of spin. We're gonna get some real shit here going on. So we're coming. All right, everybody. Here we go. Fountain Frank is here. It is time. We are all set. I am in full deployment mode. I got my helmet on. We're going to kick some ass in Assoteria. It's going to be gone. We're going to have some fun. So this is what I'm talking about. Shies and the boys, they're out there. They are doing what needs to be done, taking the fight to the bad guys. And you know what else? You know what else? You know who's not there? That fucking monkey is not there because he's right here. I captured him. You know where I captured him? Let me tell you where I captured him. I captured George in Florida at a Home Depot turning in a fucking chainsaw that he rented. What do you think happened? I was willing, I would say, I'm telling you right now, my opinion before I got this news about George was that somehow Villy had managed to get access to the CIA's weather machine and sent that hurricane to Florida to fuck with this 49 TAC Keepstar defense. But you know what? I don't even think he's good enough to do that. But you know who is? George. I mean, this guy will not stop this. He will not stop sabotaging us. But half the time, he sabotages, he turns around, and I'm sure he had something to do with the Requiem thing, too. I'm just saying, all these guys didn't log in at the same time and realize this. That makes me think, okay.
He must have roofied them.
Maybe they kept the chainsaw. Maybe he was using that to cut internet cables to keep the rec guys from logging in. I don't know. All I'm telling you is it is very, very suspicious to me to have George in Florida at the same time a tree falls on Asher's house. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Questions here.
Okay? This is what I'm talking about when it comes to this fucking monkey. He is everywhere. He's like Visa. He's everywhere you want to be. And it worries me. But I'll tell you this right now. I'm keeping him as far away from Assoteria as possible because that's where the fighting's going to be from now on. We're going to have some fun. We're going to go around. We're going to kill jump bridges. I'll tell you right now, if you are the G-Magic jump bridge, you better watch your cornhole, buddy. We're coming for you. I'm telling you right now, we're going to kill a bunch of stuff. We're going to run around. We're going to hang out with the stained Russians. We're going to be drinking vodka all night long and killing your infrastructure. That's what I'm talking about. So that's the war update. The war update is I got the helmet on. We are ready to go. It's going to be a party in Assoteria. All right, Mittens, take it away.
Thank you so much, Frank. We really needed that. I really appreciate the investigative reporting that has gone into the fraud investigation as it relates examine all the evidence on the branch, and apparently I'm muted. Okay, I was going on a alas. I was, so as I was saying, thank you for that excellent investigative reporting. One of the things that we really need to do that Fountain Frank just brought to the table for us is we need to have a full and fair accounting and investigation of any fraud or inaccuracies that took place when it related to that branch falling. Now, we think it was a hurricane, but now there are suspicions involving a suspicious stuffed monkey with a chainsaw, and we need a full and fair investigation to understand why the branch fell. If it fell, was it a legitimate branch falling? And is it possible, if it's an illegitimate branch falling, is there a way that I lost it.
I apologize, everybody.
3 hours of sleep.
Frank had to come in and out of the office, but he left George here, who was playing with the buttons and muted Mittens. So this is what happens. He can't stop the sabotage even when he's not on the show anymore. So there you go. So anyway, that's it. We've got about 5 minutes left. We do have one more substantive segment.
We should do the piercing the corporate veil, because we have actual CCP news.
Exactly. You might get a little bit of extra content today. So we got some good news. So here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about the third quarter earning results for EVE Online. Pearl Abyss had their call on Wednesday. So, as always, we do our best to keep our eyes open, and we want to hear how the company's doing. We just had the launch of EVE Echoes, and we've been seeing a trend of more players coming back in the game, and that's something that I wanted to highlight. So, Pearl Abyss had their earnings call. There are a couple things to point out, and I won't go into all the details about Pearl Abyss because I know you guys don't really care. You really care about the CCP.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. We're going to do Cool Kids mode. I was just reminded we forgot Cool Kids mode.
Oh, there you go. All right, Cool Kids for the corporate veil.
Yes. Corporate Cool Kids.
Black Desert Online is not doing great. It's really lost a lot of users. It's lost a lot of market share. I'm going to throw up here. You can see here now that the sales trend is just they're not selling like they used to. But it's still something that they're highlighting that they want to talk about. But what we did see is that there was an increase. They're calling these Royal Core users. Noisy and I have no idea what the hell that is. I'm assuming that a Royal Core user is a Omega account that has lapsed, where a player is coming back that had played longer than a year. So in terms of veteran retention, or veterans coming back and re-upping their subscriptions and bringing up numbers is what I'm assuming that this is.
Did somebody sound the horn of Gundor?
Right, exactly. So there you go. 30% year-to-date increase of those types of users, according to Pearl Abyss. I think that is probably a function of two things. One, obviously, Corona has everybody inside, so we're playing games, and folks that want to come back and check out EVE. And frankly, the game is in the best state that it's been in a long time. And two, we got a big war, and everybody wants to come back, and we're calling our old friends back, and the other guys are calling their old friends back, and everybody that wants to get involved in one of these big wars is coming back. So that's good. I think that has been a benefit to the game, and I think we all should appreciate the fact that we've helped to increase revenue into the company by bringing back 30% in a year increases in terms of people come and play, which is great.
Okay, so I got a question here, because one of the things that confuses me is I thought that EVE Online was not supposed to be about massive metagamey, Sov War, fuckfest, block conflicts, because from what I thought I had been seeing out of CCP for a while now, the massive nerfs to nullsec and the general idea of trying to get rid of what appears to make it harder for blocks to fight each other and do this. Like, it's kind of funny. It seems to me like we're getting evidence from a revenue perspective that big wars in EVE are good. Now, somebody suggested in chat, and it's a reasonable point, that, and Brisk brought it up too, that maybe it's Corona related. And that could be the case. Maybe it's Corona related, but I think that if that was the case, you would see a similar boost across the gaming sector as a whole. Black Desert Online did not have that kind of revenue boost. It was an EVE revenue boost. What is different about EVE? Even if it's not just people responding to the Horn of Gundor, there is a massive high-profile war in EVE that has been going on for months. And that is something that makes money, which is, you would think, in a rational and capitalistic managed company, that they would want to have more war, more player engagement, and not try to drive all the players out of nullsec by bankrupting them so that they can then go mine Isogen in lowsec.
There you go.
and titanium orca mining in HiSec. So like, regardless of where you are on the PASP versus Cool Kids war, we are having a big ass war. It is all that anybody is talking about. It is in the headlines. We are doing cool things. There are hijinks. There's metagames. There is stuff. People are talking about EVE because of the war. They are not talking about EVE because, wow, hey guys, come play this game and then go mine HiSec or with Orca, right? So again, like, one of the concerns that I have always had is when you see people diddling in the reactor control room of EVE Online. They stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night and they've got a wrench. They're going to come in there and start banging around and, like, you know, hitting random controls and knobs and mine Isogen and Lowsec and whatever. When, as the nullsec player base has been saying forever, people are not buying history books about the time that they mined ore in HiSec. There is no Empires of Isogen mining in Lowsec Volume 4.
There's no small gang stories of EVE Online.
Exactly, exactly. And so one of the things I want to reinforce here is, regardless of, again, what side of the aisle you're on in the PASP versus Cool Kids war, this is a scenario where we are collectively in nullsec, as nullsec nerds who like to have slap fights, and we do, even if we call each other names, we love the fact that we get to call each other names and have these fights and have these wars. That's why we're all here doing this. I want everybody to keep reinforcing, whenever CCP talks about how the focus of the game is not, I mean, there are other aspects of EVE besides nullsec warfare, but nullsec warfare is what gets the money. Nullsec warfare is what gets the press. Nullsec war is what gets the history books written. It gets the mainstream media articles written. This is the massive bread and circuses that makes people pay attention to a 17-year-old MMO. And for many years now, we have said this, but now we have direct evidence of it. If that is causation, not just a correlation, and I believe that the war has a major component to the fact that EVE's revenue is going up. And I want CCP to make money. The longer CCP is making money, the more money they are making, the healthier EVE is.
And that's the other thing that I want to tell you guys. EVE made a ton of money last quarter, and let me show you the numbers. This was by far the best quarter that EVE has had since they were bought out by Pearl Abyss. And I think you saw a little bit of quarter two was 18.9. Every quarter it's been better than the last one. Right now, you can see on the number, you can see revenue by IP, EVE 21.3 billion Korean won. That is the equivalent of $19.1 million in third quarter. Revenue by region, you can see the PC market, the PC share of the money coming into Pearl Abyss is way up. It's almost 50% now. A lot of that's EVE. And the number coming in from Korea has been dropping. The numbers coming in from North America and Europe has been pretty steady of about almost 50% as well. So in the end, the company is making a ton of money. Pearl Abyss is making a ton of money off of CCP. CCP has been doing the best quarter ever, 2 quarters in a row now. They cracked 20 billion won for the first time in a while. Obviously, we don't have the numbers to go back over the years to see if this is like the best quarter EVE has ever had. But I wouldn't be surprised. $19 million for a 17-year-old game in a 3-month time period, that's pretty solid. So that tells me at the very least that the company's doing okay. The Echoes launch was good, and it's bringing in revenue, because I think a good chunk of that, in addition to the core users coming back because of the war, is going to be from Echoes. I think they want to keep the Echoes thing moving. I think we're finally seeing some. So a lot of these big fights, Echoes is turning into the game that I think that they wanted it to be. We've seen meta plays from them. We've seen big coalitions being formed. We've seen they've had 3,000-person fights over the last week, as I understand it. So Echoes is doing what it needs to do, and it's making money. And then the rest of the game is going well. And I think, I know I was critical of the ESS and the DBS change that came into, but I'll tell you right now, from what I'm seeing from talking to players and everything, this ESS change seems to be pretty positive. People like it. They're having fun with it. It's generating content, and it's giving folks stuff to do. So I might have to reverse myself on my concern about it before, because it seems like people are having a lot of fun. So I'll tell you this, at least from my perspective, the company's moving in the right direction. I think the game is doing okay. There's little things we don't like. Obviously, there's stuff we're concerned about, and I think Mittens is spot on. the constant nerfing of nullsec and everything in nullsec, whether it's industry, wealth creation, wealth management, wealth moving it around, resource distribution, all that stuff. At some point, it's got to stop because just the numbers are just not going to be there anymore. And I think at that point, hopefully, we'll get to see CCP starting to turn the faucet back on. But for now, in terms of revenue, they're where they want to be. So I think they're going to keep doing what they're doing, thinking that they think it's working. And let's hope that they're right.
One of the things I want to touch on here is we, in just like 2 weeks, 3 weeks when it was certified, it's been within, I think, the time since we did the last show, we brought CCP. When I say we, again, I mean everybody who is involved in the current war fuckfest thing that we're doing, like PASPy versus Imperium and Friends, PASPy versus Cool Kids. We brought this company 2 new Guinness World Records, right? 2 new world records. Now, you can say what you will about the Guinness Book, and I know there's some controversy and things like that, but from a marketing perspective and being able to put that out in the gaming press and say, hey, look at this stuff that is going on, that is a big deal. And I think it is something that everyone on all sides of this war needs to keep eyeballs on, is that when we are busy killing each other, more people play this game. There's more interest in this game. We get Guinness Book of World Records. Revenue goes up. And yet we are being asked by the company to go mine in HiSec with orcas, which is a bit of a distraction from the whole us killing each other and bringing the company Guinness Book of World Records. So basically, pick a fucking lane, right? You want all the benefits. You make sure that nullsec has a good foundation for block warfare, and then everybody wins and everybody profits. I guess that was my little soapbox rant.
Mini soapbox rant at the end of the show. So
yes.
All right, I'm ready. Are you ready? I think we're good. You guys got an extra 10 minutes out of us.
I coughed, and so now we have...
Right, now you got the Rona.
Concern troll.
Sorry.
Oh, Redline cares about whether I have the corona. You're pathetic. You are pathetic. You see me cough on a show, and the first thing you do is start talking about how I have the plague. Oh, yeah, we're the bad guys. Eat my ass. And with that, I feel pretty satisfied. It's a black shirt meta show.
Black shirt. You got to end it on a good note.
Black shirt ended
on a good note. And I'm sure that Redline will clip that and use that on Trash Talk Tuesday or something. So there you go. Anyway.
All right.
Everybody, thank you. This was a great first episode of the second season. Thank you all for joining us. Today is November the 14th, 2020. This was the Meta Show for November the 14th, 2020. I'm Brice Ball, joined by the Mittani, Pinecones, Delenda Est. You stay classy, New Eden.